Department C-65 is now in session.
Matter number 3, Rodriguez versus Sorrells. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Beckler, please.
Sure. Hi.
Isabella's not here today.
She's at school.
What is the status of getting the documents served on Ty Sorrells?
So, a lot has happened since the last court date.
Would you be more comfortable sitting?
No, because I want to come
That's
in and
fine.
out. I'm fine. So the last time we were here, you told me to go to the sheriff's because we were supposed to deliver that. But then my car was broken into in the lot, and so it broke down or something, so we weren't able to like get there. And then after that, and an attempt to, so the car was broken down. So then that Friday, I was coming to attempt to get it to the sheriff's office then. And then I was locked up by Irvine Police Department for something, a false warrant or something in 2025.
Oh my goodness, okay.
Which I was confused about because, again, I called him like 1,000 times to my house for this warrant. They've ran my license and like nothing ever came up. So I spent Mother's Day in jail, coming from Walmart, actually. It wasn't even a moving violation. I was coming out of Walmart with my groceries, and they approached my car saying something about a warrant from 2019. And when they gave the ticket, I told them that I had just moved here from St. Louis. It was literally like my first day moving into the apartment, me and my daughter. I was looking at GPS, the police pulled me over. He was like, "You're not allowed to have your phone." I said, "We just
Hold
moved
on,
here."
Sorry, I'm writing down what you're saying, so a little slower.
Oh, slower? Sorry.
Please, thank you.
So we had just moved here, so we got pulled over. I told the police officer, I was looking at Google Maps. He says in California you're not allowed to do that. I said, "Sorry, this is our first day here. We literally just moved here from St. Louis. We just moved into our apartment. I'm trying to find my way to go pick up our stuff." And he's like, "Well, where's all your information?" I showed him my license, everything was valid. He says, "I can't find you in the system." I said, "I know because I'm from St. Louis. That's why you can't find me in the system." And he's like, "Well, I'm just going to write you a ticket for not having your license, your insurance, and your registration," even though I showed him my license, insurance, and registration from insurance. So he said, "Look out for it," or whatever. I never heard anything after that. So I don't know. So anyway, that's what they said they locked me up for on Walmart. I came out of Walmart, got in my car, put my groceries in my car, and the two officers from Irvine Police Department, one came to the front, one came to the side. The first thing he said, he was like, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "No, I'm trying to get home to my daughter." He was like, "Well, you have tint, I want to talk to you about the tint on your car." I said, "I don't have tint on my trucks. There's tint on the back windows, so that's allowed." He was like, "Well, I want you to raise down your window and talk to me." And I'm like, "Why are you here? There's no reason for me to talk to you." And so then the other officer was like, "Well, if you're the owner of this car, then you have a warrant." And I said, "No, I don't." I was like, "What is it for?" He said, "No license, no whatever." And I said, "No, I actually have all those things right now. I have my California license, here's my registration, here's my insurance. I have no idea, what you're talking about or whatever." So that escalated into me being locked up for this warrant from 2019. And I'm trying to figure out from 2019 to 2025, especially within the last month from February until like me coming here, calling the police at least like 8 times for this stalker. Mind you, since the initial contact of this stalker who's been stalking my daughter, he stalked her from work, and then he advanced to coming to our home. He's literally been to our home almost every week. He was there 2 days ago to put his address on my door. He left it on the door with a sticky note, basically like making fun because I told the sheriff, I didn't know where he was or whatever. And so I don't know how he had that information, but he left a sticky note on my door with his address. Anyway, so I was trying to figure out, I've called the police, I've called dispatch, the police have come, I've given them my license, I've been to Irvine police, I've had a ticket in between that time. Technically, based on the ticket I received, I think like in 2023, if I had a warrant, I should have been locked up. I was not locked up, I was just given a ticket. So again, been to the police station. I'm trying to figure out, why all of a sudden they have a warrant when I'm trying to go and get this delivered to this restraining order. You see what I'm saying? So I spent Mother's Day weekend in jail. So I get out of jail and I go to the sheriff's office to, submit the paperwork. She tells me, oh, you're missing this, missing this, C100, C something, something, something. I said, okay, fine. So I run over here, I get copies of all the paperwork. I come back to the sheriff's office. I resubmit everything, which it was like just in the nick of time. And then she says, one of your papers isn't certified by the clerk, so we're not going to be able to serve it. And so that paper was CH-109 here, which the last court proceeding that we had, you noted that it wasn't certified and you actually had them make one that was certified. That's what I had to wait on. So this replaced this C09. So I told her, I said, ma'am, this certified, that was notified by the judge or noted, whatever. And so they redid it with the certification here. I showed her the certification or whatever from the clerk. And I said, so this is the latest thing. This is the packet they gave me in its entirety to come straight to you. I'm doing what I was ordered. Here's everything. She says, no, we're not going to send it because you need this, which is basically invalid. You need to go back and get this 109 certified. This is at the sheriff's office. I think the lady's name is Anna or something like that. And so I'm like, okay. And again, I'm minding that time is running out for me to get this thing served to him. So I said, okay, fine. That was on a Friday. I came earlier in the week. I came all the way down here to the clerk's office. One of the clerks, they had almost closed, but I was like, please, I need your help with this. He looked over it. He said, ma'am, that's not true. This is certified. You have everything that you need to get it served, right? So I drive back over to the sheriff's office. I submit everything. I said, I was told by the court's clerk that this is the form, the 116 that you need to have. Everything is in order. I am missing nothing. So she says, okay, here, sign this, sign this. I signed the information packet or instruction packet or whatever. We go through the whole thing. I said, is everything correct? She says, everything, okay, fine. Because at first they weren't trying to serve him. Because they were like, oh, he's homeless or whatever. And I said, yeah, that was the point of, the sheriff serving him or whatever. And I said, okay, well, we'll get this out. And I said, okay, fine. I come down to the mail. So that was on the 29th. And they sent it right back. So they refused to serve it. This is dated May 30th. I was there on the 29th. And she said, because I signed the instructions and not my daughter. I said, I'm in the warrant is for me and it's for me and her. So, and you're the one who told me to do it, because I'm in there too, so that should have been enough. So she sent it back. So it has not been served. Meanwhile, this entire time, again, he was just there, Ty Sorrells, blatantly violating the temporary restraining order. He was just at my house 2 days ago. He put a note on my door, on a sticky note, with his address on it, saying this is where he lives, making up something about a bag, or whatever, but I guess that was just like a big haha, whatever. So I just want to note that since the initial call in the police, he's been to my residence probably at least 15 times. So I feel like based on, I don't know, on California law, he should just be locked up for harassing and coming, just to my home, period. And the amount of times that I've called Irvine police to do something, and they refuse to do anything, even after, you know, the restraining order is active. You know, the first time I served him, he said, well, you can't do that because you're a victim. I said, okay, you know, fine. And then there was another incident where he came to the house. I recorded him being on the property. I called the police. Neighbors were calling the police because everybody in the community has seen him, you know, is very active about this and trying to remove him from the property. The police came. I followed him out of the property because, you know, and then the Irvine police officer, Valentine or something, I said, ma'am, he's right there. Could you serve him? And she says, why are you in the middle of the street? I said, I'm flagging you down and I'm letting you know that this is a stalker. Can you please detain him so he can be served? And she says, do you have the restraining order? I said, yes, ma'am, I have the restraining order. You guys know I have the restraining order. I literally just called you 2 days before, 2 days before that, and 2 days before that. Like, this is on record. And she says, well, I want to know why you're in the middle of the street. I said, ma'am, he's right there. Like, can you go get him? He's getting away. Well, did the judge, or are you sure it's valid? So she purposely like delayed like the whole process. And meanwhile, he's walking, he's laughing, he's going into, I said across from the marketplace. So he's disappearing into the crowd at Target. And I'm like, ma'am, you know, well, why are you in the street? You can get hit, you can get all these things. And I said, ma'am, are you not going to get him? She said, okay, well, I'll try to go get him and you go home, which I live across the street, and get the restraining order. So I go home, I get the restraining order, and then she comes there, Officer Valentine, and there's another reporting officer, I didn't get his name. And she says, you know, she's looking over the paperwork, and she says, you know, so you're sure this is valid? I said, I was literally just in court yesterday. Yes, it's valid. And she says, well, we have to call it in to see if it's valid. I said, it's valid, and I said, here's the video of him being on the property, being at my house, violating it, so you can go lock him up. And I said, did you catch him? No, she comes back, she says, oh, well, I couldn't find him. And I said, oh, you know, he kind of disappeared into the crowd. I said, okay. And then, so she takes my license again. She's running all of this information. So again, like they have my license, they're calling it into the system, making all this report. Well, we have to verify that, you know, your paperwork is legal and all of that, and that is valid. Okay. So then she radioed back and she says, oh, well, apparently the sheriff has him over there, and I just need to verify that your restraining order is valid, so, you know, we can get this served. She said that the sheriff was over in Marketplace, detaining him, talking to him, and that they were going to take the paperwork, calling in something, and see if they can get him served right there. So I said, okay. And so then, you know, she started asking me a bunch of relevant questions. So I'm like, okay, well, can I, you know, go? Because I wanted to verify that the sheriff was over there, you know, talking to him. I said, I don't understand how he got away. You know, you were so busy talking about me, flagging you down in the street so I could show you to where he was, that he got away, you know? And she says, well, I said, okay, well, I'll just leave you to that. So I go in my truck, I go to Marketplace, because I have like 20 copies of the restraining order. I'm trying to get this done. I said, just in case they say, you know, well, Irvine police has the order in their hand, but the sheriff doesn't have it in his hands. I said, let me go over there, find where they are, and so I can give the sheriff the copy so they can't make that excuse. Mind you, he has a copy in his backpack. I know it's not legal or whatever, but he knows that there's a restraining order on him. He took the paperwork from me. He put it in his backpack. So he knows there's an order. So he's been blatantly violating that order, point blank and period. I go over to the Marketplace. I drive around the entire thing. There is no sheriff, and he's nowhere to be found. So they blatantly lied, saying that the sheriff had him detained, and they were going to detain him to figure out if my paperwork was valid or not. Okay? So, that's the last thing that happened.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So they refused to serve it.
Okay. So the end of all this is he still hasn't been served with the entirety of the paperwork by someone other than you. So we need to figure out where we go from here. Have you sent a copy to the Orange County Sheriff or just to the Irvine Police Department? That is the Orange County Sheriff. Okay. All right. Would you take a look at the documents that came back from the Sheriff's Department and see if you can figure out what the problem is with them?
She said that it was because I signed the information packet and not my daughter, even though I am part of the restraining order, so my signature is valid. And she is the one that told me to sign it
Okay,
there.
hold on one second, yes. Is it okay if we open it?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Tell me about the sticky note that he left. Do we have any reason to believe that that's really his address? Do we know?
According to one of the reporting officers, he told them that he stays somewhere in the community, but they have allegedly, I don't know. He has a record, so I don't know how nobody's unable to find him.
So it's not, this is not actually an address, this is.
He stuck that on my
Park Laurel
door.
Glen.
Yeah, he stuck that
Sorry,
on my
I
door.
didn't catch that.
I'm sorry, which part, babe?
When you were both talking at the same time.
I was gonna say, this says Park Laurel Glen.
That apparently, maybe that's the community where he stays at. He stuck it on my door. So again, he's been to my house over 15 times. I have called the police. I've called Irvine Police Department. Some incidences, they said, oh, we're gonna come after 20 minutes, and me and staff following him around the community. I've called back and say, hey, are you coming? Well, we don't have officers available. Well, officers are in the middle of the shift. We can't really come. He started coming at nighttime because the staff in our community and neighbors in our community were, escorting him, out every time he tried to approach. So he's been coming at night after everybody goes home, after the maintenance staff goes home. He's been coming at night, 5:45, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, just knocking, harassing. No matter how many times I called the police, that was the thing. Oh, we can't do anything because you don't have a restraining order. Why do I need a restraining order if somebody is coming to my house every other day looking for my daughter, asking, is she pregnant? Is she this? Is she that? My daughter doesn't know. This is a grown man, right? You don't need a restraining order for somebody that is blatantly stalking, like blatantly. I shouldn't have to have a restraining order in hand for you to remove somebody who is climbing 3 floors, coming through a gated community, climbing 3 floors every other day, looking for my child,
Okay,
and nobody's intervening.
Hang on one second.
No,
What is
so
it
the reason, so on the back of it, they explained kind of why it got sent back. Essentially, she signed as the person, as petitioner essentially.
Mhm.
Her daughter has to sign it.
Mhm.
Other than that though, I checked the documents that I used at the 19110, they were certified by the
Okay.
clerk's office downstairs. So those are fine. It's just that in the request, oh, it's on this page, sorry. Yes, in the request for Sharon to serve court papers, every other part of it appears to be filled out correctly. It's just that it has, because the signature is party asking for service or their lawyer, so it has to be either her daughter who signs it or a counsel if you have an attorney.
Will she need a new one of those forms, or can the daughter just sign like under or over Ms. Johnson's signature?
That and
So even though I'm a part of the petition, because he's been stalking me, he's turned his attention from my daughter to me because I've been sending her away so she doesn't have to interact with him.
I understand that.
Yeah.
The document itself says either the petitioner, which is your daughter.
Okay,
Or the petitioner's attorney.
Okay.
Which you don't have at this point.
okay.
I mean,
Could we just print out a new copy of whatever that is?
of the notice to request for Sharon to
Yes.
serve court papers, we can print one out for her. She would just have to fill it out. And so the rest of the information appears correct. Let's see. Sorry,
Yeah, we want to, I'm 100% sure.
Well, no, it's the fact that she walked me through that
Right.
signing and told me to sign there. It's the fact that an employee from the sheriff's office blatantly said that we're not gonna serve it because X, Y, and Z isn't certified when that particular paper didn't need to be certified. So it's really giving obstruction, but I'm gonna do my part because I follow the law, but I just feel like this has been going on again since February, and everybody's doing a lot to protect this man, and nobody's been helping me and my daughter. I literally
We're
were
gonna
in
try-
jail.
We're gonna try and get it resolved.
The only other thing I would say, Ms. Johnson is So under number 5,
Which one are we looking at?
it's the same one, the service, the request for sheriffs to serve. So just under number 5, Ms. Johnson, the only thing I would say is they have options for like if you don't know the answer. So when looking at the question, just I don't want them to kick it back to you because they're like number 5 wasn't filled out. So if you don't know the answer to that question, just check the box where I don't know.
Can you put an asterisk by it or
I
something?
can highlight it for you. It's this one. The rest of the information though seems to be correct. And then again, just your daughter or an attorney would have to sign at the bottom, and then it
So it'll be your daughter will be signing it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna print out a new copy of that document for you. You can take that, have your daughter sign it, and then with all these other documents, get all that back to the sheriff's office. Okay?
Okay, so on the second half of that, what do we do about the temporary order being in place this entire time and him blatantly disregarding that? Because at that point, that's a felony. And he's done it at least, 7 times? The police knowing that the order is enforced, they called me back, they said, hey, your paperwork is good, and nobody is locking him up. I understand that's the extended, but my thing is nobody doing anything while he's blatantly violating the temporary restraining order that's in place. And the fact that I've been managed to be locked up, but this has been February, and he's been to my house 20 times, and they will not lock him up without, what is the reason at this point? They said, get a restraining order, I've gotten a restraining order. This is just, what does it even matter? That doesn't even matter at this point because Irvine is not locking him up with the temporary restraining order. He's still coming to my house.
I can't make the Irvine Police Department do anything.
I just want it on record.
I understand that if we're gonna get him served, whether he comes into this court or not, if you have evidence that supports your contention that he came to your home in violation of the restraining order after it was issued, then I can hold him in contempt. There's a process by which we go through that. The contempt process allows me to either fine him or, if it seems appropriate, to have him remanded to jail.
It's not a felony violating the restraining order for stalking? Because that's what I'm understanding. Is it not a felony?
It would have to be, I don't know the answer to that. But what I do, these are civil harassment restraining orders. And I can enforce them through contempt. I can enforce them through sanctions. You should be able to call the police and have the police enforce them. But as I said,
if there's an order in place and he comes to my house, isn't he supposed to go to jail? Technically.
Technically, I believe so.
Right. According to California state law, if there is a restraining order in place and the assailant still comes to your house, they're supposed to be locked up. It's a felony violating an order that is in place.
I don't know if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, but
it's a felony.
It is not something that I can
You don't
force
know.
the cops to do.
Okay, got it.
Okay?
But
So,
you don't know for a fact though.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
Because that's
Okay.
not the area that I specialize in.
Okay.
What we're gonna do though
Okay.
is give you a new date. Once again, the temporary restraining order will be continued until our next hearing date.
So confused.
Yeah.
What is this?
What is,
So that's the blank form, Ms. Johnson. So you will fill out like the information on it, exactly the same way you did for that. Just, again, make sure your daughter or an attorney signs it. And then on the one you had filled out, that's in the envelope for you, I highlighted the number 5 I was talking about.
Is there a deadline for service?
So for serving the notice of hearing and all the documents, it has to be done at least 5 days prior to the hearing date. So the continued date we're going to give you in just a moment, it just has to be done minimum 5 days prior to that hearing date.
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Now, how quickly can you get your daughter to sign it and get back to the sheriff?
Today. So where it says your signature, that's where she needs to sign?
Yes, where it says, party requesting service or attorney,
Okay,
that's where she has to sign.
got it.
Okay? So if you can get it to them, get it signed and get it to them today. But let me ask you, is Isabel's gonna be in school over the summer?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Is there any time of day that's gonna be better for her? Because she's gonna have to be here to testify.
When is the next one?
Probably July 3rd.
We can do July 3rd, but I don't know if you're going out
Is that
of
what
town.
day is, yeah,
a
that's
Thursday.
like,
That's
that's
a
like
Thursday.
really close, yeah, to the holiday. And that's a, so summertime. Yeah, I don't know about that. Nothing before that?
Well, we could do that Tuesday or that Wednesday.
Yeah, earlier in the week, that'd be good.
We can do Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And do you want to try the 1:30 slot again? Is that better for
Yes.
her? Okay.
Mhm.
What did we say, the Tuesday, the 1st?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll continue this matter to Tuesday, July 1, 2025, 1:30 PM, Department C65. We will have an order continuing the date. Put that in your package with the other documents that are gonna get served on Mr. Sorrell's.
And if they are unable to serve him, then what? Allegedly.
Then the court would consider going forward with the hearing on that day. We'll have to consider, is there any other way that you know of to get a hold of him? You don't have.
I just know he be outside my house every other day. He probably gonna be there when I get home laughing at my
Okay.
doorstep.
Is there, you said you have extra copies of all these documents?
Which documents?
Well, all the documents that have to be served on him,
Yes.
okay? Give a
The
packet.
original restraining order, yes.
Okay, but the entire packet.
The entire packet of the original, yeah.
Yes, all the
Whatever was
documents are taken.
in this
Yeah.
letter, or the sheriff's thing, whatever they send back,
Yes.
that, he needs that entire thing,
That
right?
whole packet.
Right, exactly.
Give a copy of that to a neighbor, and any neighbor who sees him can hand it to him. You
Mm-hmm,
have that person sign the proof of service and you're done,
okay.
okay? Management at your complex, facilities person at your complex. And, I mean, if he's right there, you can walk to the next person here, say, hand that to him. He hands it to him, you're done, okay?
Mhm.
We need to get this guy before the court.
So even with, we do all that and we get the restraining order and he's still coming to my house, then what? Because if he doesn't care about the temporary, it's like, what's the point of me
Well,
going
then
through all
if
of this?
If he's served, you'll come back in here, then I can issue a permanent restraining order. And if he's in violation of that, he's probably going to jail. Okay,
Okay,
all right? Until he gets served, I can't do anything legally. I don't have jurisdiction over him, that's the problem.
right. I just think it's odd. It's been like, again, since February, and the first time somebody didn't check a box, so we had to continue. The second time, there was no certification, and so we had to do that. And then I try to do it in my car, then I get locked up, and then the sheriff's like, you're missing.
Right.
So somebody's not trying to help me get this done.
I'm
And I
trying.
just want that,
I'm trying.
I just want to say that. I just want to say all of
I
that.
understand.
Do I get a copy of the court transcripts today?
You can speak with, does she go through you or does she go through the court reporter director?
On the OC Court's website, there's a transcript request page. If you plug in your case number, it'll generate an email that comes to me, and that's how you order a transcript. Or you can just give me your email directly and I can email you.
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
We'll do that when we're off the record, okay? Any other questions, ma'am?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much for your patience. We're gonna see if we can get this done this time, all right?
I have a side question. I guess.
Hang on, I've got another matter, and then we'll go off the record and you can ask all your questions, okay? Matters 4, 5, and 6, we have no appearances. These matters were noticed for hearing at 1:30 PM. It's now 2:10 PM. No communication is made, are you correct? There is no appearance by the petitioner, Guadalupe Gutierrez. Each of these three matters will be dismissed without prejudice. The orders issued in each case will be dissolved. And we're off record. All right, now you can ask all the questions you want.
Can you request body camera footage? Because I've requested it from the Irvine Police Department and they refused to release it. I was,
Did you do a subpoena? You probably have to do a subpoena.
so I need to get a lawyer. You have to. I thought that's not freely available to the public, or no?
No,
If it's you?
They have procedures that you need to follow. Have you been to the self-help center on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay.
CHAKQ,
Do you know where that is?
Johnson.
You might apply about the process of subpoenaing body cam footage. My guess is that every jurisdiction has its own special way of doing it, so you're gonna have to talk to them about, it's Irvine Police, right?
Yes. Okay.
And you give them for your email address?
Yes.
Okay, very
And
good.
then I need the new date thing.
The new order's gonna be coming up in a second.
I
Okay.
gave you-
You did?
Thank you very much.
Those are the papers that I just handed you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.